What is up, guys? Kevin Cage back with another XRP update. If you want daily crypto news, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. I'll try to be rapid fire and get through this in a timely manner, and we're going to do this video one take, uncut, because I'm super busy. So first off, we will be talking about Tether. We will cover some XRP news, and at the end of the video, I want to go through a thread I saw and just wanted to share my 2 cents at least with how high the price of XRP can actually get. So yes, I know this is fully speculation. Keep that in mind. This is not financial advice, and I hear this time and time again whenever you go over the price potential of an asset. Well, for XRP, let's cross 50 cents first. Let's pass $1 first before talking about this, people rolling their eyes. And that may be true, but to that point, those that make the most money in this market, or will be making the most money in this market, are the ones entertaining and speculating about this concept right now, buying now and holding now. So each to their own. First off, I do want to go over Tether, and this is not to scare you. This is just to let you guys know of the inherent risks in this market. So I'm going to be careful with what I say here, because obviously if I say certain words, the YouTube algorithm will not show this video. So obviously I encourage you guys to do your own research here. This is on. You can find all of this and kind of look at this on tether.to. So you can find them as well. Let's see, right here on Tether, if you follow them on Twitter, you can go to this website, and then when you go there, you can actually go to resources and click transparency. Just take a quick look at everything. And yes, you guys know my thoughts about Tether. USDT is the ticker. I've shared this many times. This is not to scare anybody. This is just to be prepared for anything and hedge your bets accordingly. I do not hold Tether. I know that it is one of the most liquid crypto assets because it is a stable coin in this market, and oddly enough, time and time again, we see that the volume is almost always higher than Bitcoin, if not higher than the sum of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and this will change and fluctuate from time to time. You can even go at the historical data and look at the daily volume, and whenever they mint a good amount, what happens? The price of Bitcoin pumps, pulling the rest of the market up. So just so you guys know my expectations for the cryptocurrency market as a whole. Yes, we are over $1 trillion in market capitalization. Do I think we will surpass this and go to 10 trillion someday? Yes. Without it, there's no doubt in my mind that we will get there. Now, I think it will be a bumpy road. There's no such thing as straight up by any means. So keep that in mind, because currently, and this is not my belief, this is not fiction, this is fact, the majority of this volume in this market is wash trading, or just accounts moving money to one another under different addresses and all kinds of essentially fake volume that is artificially propping up this market. So please keep that in mind. When we have utility come into this market, speculation is still good, hype is still good, because obviously this encourages traders to come and things of that nature. Utility is going to grow this bottom line, and that is what we want, all right? So historically, we understand whenever Tether prints, Bitcoin goes up. We've shown the data time and time again, and whenever Tether stops minting its coins out of nowhere, in my opinion, what happens? The price of Bitcoin comes down. Now, obviously, Bitcoin's gone up $20,000 plus in a matter of weeks. So I'm not saying, any crash is coming right now. All I'm saying is whenever Tether stops printing, yes, it can often see a pullback, just like we saw in March 2020. Now, a good friend of mine, a buddy, Crypto Whale, if you guys follow him, he's been in the community for a very long time, even goes on to say 55% of all Tether in circulation was printed in the last 90 days. Could account for some of these substantial pumps we've seen, and perhaps we, may not be done yet whatsoever. I obviously want some runs in my altcoins as well, so keep that in mind. Now, interestingly enough, after tweeting this, we actually see that his account was restricted shortly after. So he lost, everybody that he was following, things of that nature. So we'll keep a close eye on this as well. Hopefully he'll be back. Twitter has been very strange lately, as you guys know, and I'll be careful what I say on this centralized platform. Okay, so historically, we can see almost $500 million USDT Tether minted in the past 36 hours as Bitcoin rallies. This was October 2020. We can go right here. Tether printer goes burr, 1.6 billion USDT minted in April as Bitcoin recovers from that March crash. You can go through all of this and look at this. And then another page that I do recommend following just for additional insight is whale_alert. And right here, just on January 2nd, we have $200 million minted. You can see the transaction right here, and just keep track of all of this. Sometimes, we goof around, we'll say, incoming pump. Other times we'll say incoming dump. This is what we are typically referring to. All right. So right here, talking about Tether transparency, they say that everything is backed by 100% reserve. It is backed. They're not just printing money out of thin air, supposedly. And I'm one of those people that would like them to be audited. just to confirm that, because you just never know. This world is a crazy, crazy place, and maybe it is all good and great, but I'm not going to turn a blind eye and say everything's fine. Okay? So in other news with XRP, guys, so as we know, XRP has reclaimed the 30-cent price area as support, as well as the number 4 spot on CoinMarketCap. This article was a couple days ago, but notice the number of new XRP account activations, meaning, new wallets with reserve amounts holding, and the reserve amount can be changed by, if it's voted on. But that's actually additional demand for XRP. Now, it's not some crazy amount. Yes, I know the original finite supply is 100 billion, but we have to account for that. And then whenever transactions occur, there is a minute, tiny burn rate for the XRP ledger to essentially prevent spam, DDoS attacks, things of that nature. Now, that may not have some massive influence on the price, but overall it is good, all right? So it's a finite supply, and over time, the supply is reduced. And what happens when the supply is reduced and then the demand is increased? Price. Obviously, price gets pushed up. Econ 101. So hit a 1-year high of 9,100 per day. This is despite crypto exchanges suspending, even halting trading altogether for XRP. Very interesting. So we'll keep an eye on this. Just wanted to share this. We can see right here, XRP account activation all-time high of 14,531 per day was observed during the bull run of early 2018. Those were the days when I was, I'd get off the plane, I'd get in a, Uber, and I'd be talking to my Uber driver about Ripple, because that's what we called it back then before we, just called it XRP all the time. So those were the good days when everyone's talking about Bitcoin. People were buying XRP when we were at $2 before, live production of even XRapid today, on-demand liquidity. I'm going to miss those days. And honestly, I think we are just getting closer than ever before to actual adoption in real alt runs. But I do not think we're out of the water yet. So obviously I have my cash on the side. I am right now out of any active trades and looking for some good entries in the days and weeks ahead. So we will see. All right, so I went over that. Tether, just be safe with this. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I think that there could be some definite upside, in the weeks ahead, of course, for a lot of alts. Keep an eye on the alts that may be listed on Coinbase, as well as some other exchanges. There have been a lot of developments, some new SDKs and new things for a few assets and alts that I'm holding right now. Okay, so before we talk about XRP, we know Chile allows commercial banks to offer account services to crypto exchanges. So a court in Chile has ordered 2 of the country's largest commercial banks to offer account services to a local crypto exchange. Reminds me of things that, Bitso out of Mexico is working on, deep connections with Ripple, on-demand liquidity provider, etc. So we'll keep an eye on this, just like we saw that news that came out of India with crypto exchanges. If you think that crypto is not, valid, it will be. We just hit a $1 trillion market cap, not 100. $1 trillion market cap. Crypto is here to stay. It's going to be a bumpy road, but adoption is essentially guaranteed at this point in terms of, the security tokens market. And it's essentially interoperability, and crypto assets are going to play a central role with blockchain. There's no question. It's not coming from me. It's coming from people like Brian Brooks, acting comptroller of the currency, overseeing the US banking system. Right here, Flare community. So distribution of Flare, and I've been getting some of the Flare that I had on Bitrue, so I'm getting some of that distributed to me as well. Excited to get some more Flare tokens from some other exchanges, as well as my, Ledger Nano. So distribution of Flare Network's native token Spark, 100 billion FLR, I'm just gonna say Flare, to be created. 45 billion went to the XRP holders. We have 25 billion that went to Flare Networks Limited. We have 25 billion to the Flare Foundation, as well as 5 billion to Litecoin holders. Very cool. Incentivizing and getting attention from other essentially communities in the crypto space. Now, right here, guys, I'm sure you've all read this, issuing stablecoins in the XRP ledger. I'm sure you've heard David Short, CTO of Ripple, talk about this when he put out that stablecoin proposal. Was that 2019 or 2018, 2020? It's all a blur to me. Nonetheless, super high level, but it is very, very exciting. So we have this gentleman just asking, didn't really understand, XRP, what is it useful for? And it wasn't actually arrogant or anything. He just literally wanted to better understand it. And he does clarify it down here in this thread, just so you guys do know. I know we're used to trolls in this community, but a lot of people just simply want to learn. So David Schwartz goes on the answer. If the whole world settled on a single stablecoin, whether it's US dollar coin, JPM coin, things of that nature, or even, Libra, I'd have to agree with you, but stablecoins are always going to be tied to jurisdictions, maybe a company, a country, counterparty, so there's counterparty risk. So it is unlikely that there's going to be one single winner that will emerge. So in his mind, in my mind, I'm just listening to the people that are much smarter than me. I think this world will be based off of interoperability. Fiat will still be here. The yuan, the yen, the dollar, the Brazilian real, the euro, the British pound, it's all going to still exist. It's not going away, but we're going to have invisible protocols, underlying protocols that essentially help everything interoperate. Whether it's not just value, it's going to be data as well. Everything's being transformed in front of our eyes. So today, one of the roles of the dollar is one of the reserve currencies. It's denominated in a lot of things through international trade. Belgium-based SWIFT is largely controlled by the United States, believe it or not. There's a lot of geopolitical tension. There's a digital Cold War occurring. You guys can see essentially the recipe for a perfect storm. Yes, there's bad things that have come out of it, but with that, with pessimists, there's also opportunity, all right? So acting as an intermediary or bridge between currencies for that role, its tie to the US jurisdiction is both an advantage and a disadvantage. Better US than a worse jurisdiction, but a pure digital asset is better still. Now, obviously, this is exactly what the Triffen dilemma is. Right here, the Triffen Paradox is the conflict of economic interests that arises between short-term domestic and long-term international objectives for countries whose currencies serve as a global reserve currency. So I know this is a common talking point in the XRP community, and you can look at the history, highly recommend doing so. And of course, I'm just citing Wikipedia, so take that with a grain of salt. Anyways, so right here. Imagine a future, maybe not so far off, and I know we were talking about, tokenization briefly the other day, where everything is tokenized and you can have your salary agreed in dollars, but gold then gets delivered to your wallet instead, just interoperability between platforms, markets, assets, etc. And you can buy groceries by selling tokenized shares of a REIT. And as we know, a REIT is a real estate investment trust, things of that nature. So the sky's the limit. You guys know the real estate market is $217 trillion worth. And yes, it will be tokenized. The question is, we still need, the matter is, we still need liquidity and interoperability between these ecosystems. And we know one of the assets that serves for liquidity is XRP. So yes, it can start small in these on-demand liquidity corridors. But the funny thing is, how can you tell me that we're not going to go to these higher prices years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? The sky's the limit. I'm not going to give you guys a price limit and tell you what's not possible, because we are essentially on the leading edge. We've never been here before. This is new technology. This is just like in the dot-com bubble, except substantially bigger. The world's population is much bigger. We have the Internet of Things. There's so many more devices connected at any time. There's a plethora of new technologies emerging, and everything's just compounding and growing exponentially. So yes, I'm excited, and I will continue making these videos in the meantime. All right. Let's see, talking about proof of work and proof of stake chains. And again, David Schwartz is very, very smart. In terms of XRP's use case, I think their proof of consensus is the best plan for it. Now, 100 billion, you guys think that's a lot as a supply. When you're going after all payments, you understand cross-border market is $155 trillion a year, or it's sent across borders annually. That is a massive use case. You can talk about the derivatives, and we're going to cover that briefly in about a minute or two. So if there's significant value on the chain not associated with the native tokens, the security assumptions may not hold. So very interesting, because they rely on the value of the native token right here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. And yes, I do like proof of stake, just so you guys are aware. I do not own any proof of work projects currently that I'm aware of. Everything is either I guess I do, but they're migrating to proof of stake, or they're finally on their own mainnet and their own proof of stake network. And also, in other news, we know that ADA is officially one of the largest staking networks in the world. So yes, there's going to be fluctuations. There may be some that are better, and that, maybe it competes with, Polkadot and other ecosystems. But the bottom line is that this innovation is happening in front of us. We also have QNT Quant Network in terms of interoperability. Like you could say the internet of blockchains, the internet of every network in the world for that matter. They're currently involved in, ODAP, the Open Digital Asset Protocol. There's just a bunch of innovation. I'm rooting for all of these assets. I am not intimidated by one doing better than the other. I hold all, but I wholeheartedly think that XRP has a clear future in this space. And that is just my opinion. All right. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, guys. I'm sure many of you saw this on Twitter. It's about a 14-thread tweet by XR Patience, and it's XRP Artisan. Definitely recommend following. And you guys can, take these numbers with a grain of salt. You can do your own calculations. There's different valuation frameworks you can use. So I'm not going to read it verbatim all the way, So just understand that, there's different ways to calculate it based off of the supply, the volume, and of course, the money per year moving through. So as we know, overall, before I get into these numbers, I'm going to be using 365 days per year. Currently, the rule of thumb in the United States is about, 252 days a year, at least in terms of trading. You could say 260 days for Swift. But with crypto assets, the market that doesn't sleep 24/7, 365, rather than just the equities market, why would I use 250 or 260 days when everything's going to be done in real time? So you have to consider, just 24/7. That's why I'm using that number. All right, so right here. First, keep in mind, I'm assuming all 100 billion XRP will be available for liquidity. They will not be. From investment holders to burned XRP fees, or even XRP lost from boating accidents in quotes. So keep in mind, it reminds me of Matthew Merlin as well, even though that XRP is probably accounted for and recovered. 100% of the currency will never be available, so my price estimates are likely quite low. So what he's essentially referring to is multiplier effects. So let's just say that the amount in escrow, let's just use a even number of 50 billion. If there was only 50 billion in circulation instead of 100 billion, there would be a 2x multiplier effect from there. So instead of a calculation showing you XRP at $3, you would say XRP's multiplier effect would be 3 times 2, so $6 per XRP. So of course, let's kind of speed through this. So right here, Ripple wants to conquer, using XRP, the cross-border payments market. That's a $20 trillion per year to 55 billion per day market. So notice that's essentially just the math is 20 trillion divided by 365 is approximately 54.7 billion. All right, so give or take. And according to his math, that would be, in terms of daily liquidity, the price would be about 55 cents. Okay. Now, keep in mind, there could be a multiplier effect, so you could do, instead of 55 cents, it could be $1.10 right there. And you guys know my true thoughts on the circulating supply. It is not, 45 billion. It is not 50 billion. When you come down to it, it looks like it's a lot closer to anywhere from 3 to 10 billion. So that could be a substantial multiplier effect in the future. Okay? Right here, Flare launches Q2 this year, bringing DeFi, decentralized finance, to XRP. DeFi is in its infancy, currently accounting for only $22.5 billion, but is growing very fast. And thanks to, even in last August, we had this DeFi boom, this DeFi bubble. And, you guys can have a negative connotation with bubbles, but bubbles are opportunity, and they capture attention. So bubbles are essentially a natural part of any asset or any market's, maturation or maturity. So if Flare and XRP captures 250 billion in DeFi, conservative estimate, that raises the required price of XRP to $3. And I'd have to check that math, but nonetheless, it's absolutely believable in my mind. Without even looking at these numbers and, playing math, you can look at, the chart alone. And of course, these targets are well within reach. In 2018, we hit $3.84. Price is nothing but a social construct. Now, this raises the point of liquidity and sustainability, and Ripple's game is long-term. They want to develop sustainability. They don't just want price to go to $3 and, fluctuate all the time. They want this network to grow, and they want it to be sustainable. So again, higher liquidity, less volatility, which is better for their clients, which saves more people money. Then they can send larger transactions, which of course adds additional demand to XRP. It is this giant flywheel effect where it can get very, very powerful. And that is one of the 1 million reasons why I hold and buy XRP. All right. Right here, discussing XRP Ledger stablecoins. We already talked about this. $6.6 trillion per day in the foreign exchange market. Of course, the XRP Ledger is an inherent DEX. They've talked about this foreign exchange swap years ago when, early days, we're talking 2014, 2015. If you guys remember all the videos, you can go back and watch them. The foreign exchange market. So with this math, let's see, $69. You could say 6.6 trillion divided by 100 billion XRP. That's, $66, etc. All right. There's so many variables, guys. These are super, super rough numbers to basically say, if we get the required adoption we want, the value of XRP will be much higher than $1. And I absolutely believe that. All right. Let's see, there's 35 trillion USD deposited in savings checkings account, 1.8 trillion cash, all thanks to you-know-who printing. If banks use stablecoins, central bank digital currencies built on the XRP ledger. So I know this is a big assumption, but obviously you guys can see the price right here. I'm sure that makes a lot of people excited. At the same time, I still want to just stay grounded, understand what's to come, buy, hold, do whatever is best for you. All I'm saying is XRP is very, very undervalued. We can talk about the derivatives market, a very intangible market. The high end, it's 1.2 quadrillion. On the average, though, I've seen about 700 trillion with a T. So give or take, very, very intangible market, but it will eventually be bridged and allow all that money to be liquid. So this money will be able to move through everything. And just like we've talked about with Jevons paradox in economics, if you increase efficiency, you'd think that demand would go down, but it's a paradox, so demand actually increases more than ever. And that is what I think will absolutely apply to XRP. And essentially just every crypto asset for that matter. It's all innovation. All right, seriously, $400 plus XRP. Will banks really use the XRP ledger to build their stable coins? Blah, 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 blah. Talking about Ripple, 300 plus financial institutions. Really good thread, so definitely follow this guy, XRP Artisan. All right? I'm just going to kind of speed through this. Again, looking at the job postings of Ripple, London, essentially one of the financial capitals of the world. Same with New York, San Francisco, good innovation, as well as a chief economist, all talking about managing the escrow of XRP. It's centered around XRP, guys. It's central bank digital currencies, policy making. Look at the caliber of the people. Now there's people that are leaving, there's people that are coming. This is just a giant game of chess, and that's what I'm paying attention to. All right, Brad Garlinghouse stated in November 2020, we do not know if central banks looking at the XRP ledger, we do know, excuse me, obviously, because they've already trialed with a bunch. We do know if central banks looking at the XRP ledger is open source technology to issue stablecoins. Now, one of which of course came out last year, I remember doing a video on it right away. I think it was March, maybe February. It was the Central Bank of France. So they not only mentioned the XRP ledger, they mentioned Ethereum as well, literally either linking or building stable coins on top of it. So very interesting. It's not just, me being an idiot and speculating. This is happening, all right? Now, the likelihood and probability of it happening is what you have to decide for yourselves, okay? And you guys can listen to this as well. I mean, just fact, just all right in front of you, all right? So how long, if ever, will it take for XRP to moon? XRP is well positioned to swallow a significant portion of the world finance. And just keep in mind, XRP is one of the longest living digital assets. Since the inception of the XRP ledger, the caliber of people that are on the team. It goes right with a lot of assets I like, and I just think XRP is one of the most obvious, strongest use cases. We're going to go over in the next video, if you guys stay tuned, just Ethereum with the gas fees. It's... No offense, I hold ETH because I'm not an idiot. I see the use case and the utility in it. I see all the institutions building on it, and I see an absolute future for Ethereum. But I do not see it solving the payments issue solely, or alone for that matter. There's going to be many assets that complement one another, okay? And each corporation, each institution, each application will have its own preferences, and that's just the fact. Okay, so let's see, aren't sensible. So I highly recommend looking into this, guys. And let me see if there's anything else I want to cover right here, and we'll call it a day with this, and then I will see you guys in the next video. So overall, top crypto mergers and acquisitions of 2020. Amid the chaos that was 2020, crypto companies inked almost $700 million worth of mergers and acquisitions. We have banks that can legally custody crypto. We have new regulations coming. All these organizations, the SEC, FinCEN, all of them want a slice of the pie. They want, classification. They want fines. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of fear. It is literally the dot-com bubble. There's people that are making insane amounts of money buying into not even just ICOs, but early coins that haven't exploded yet. This is exciting. Yes, there's money lost, there's money made, but the long-term holders will win. So remember, just like I showed you that video time and time again of Tika Tawari showing in the 90s with like Netscape and all those internet companies, when they put out the news, because you know who owns the media, or at least 90% of the media sources, they scared people for about a year to 2 years. And retailers were selling all their stock and shares of these new companies that were going up, 10x, 100x, things of that nature. And you saw for 2 years, the highest level of institutional accumulation of these shares of these companies than ever before. And they kept the prices low while they were accumulating, so you couldn't even tell. So yes, I believe that we are seeing something very similar. It might not be the same, but history does often rhyme. It may not repeat the same way. So we're seeing a lot of wash trading. We're aware of AI bots getting better than ever. If you guys really turn a blind eye and think that I'm a conspiracy theorist for thinking about that and understanding that a lot of this is wash trading, I don't know what to tell you, because this is happening in front of us. So keep that in mind. You guys can watch the banks that are getting into crypto custody, not just little banks. I'm talking massive banks that are paying attention to this. They've been into crypto and blockchain since 2015, 2014, way before, the Bitcoin all-time high price of 20K in 2017, 2018. So there's a lot to this. If you're new to this market, stay patient. I remember when I got into it, and I'm by no means a pro by any means, because this is an emerging asset class. How can you, call yourself an expert in, an asset class that's not even mature? But I'm learning with you. I've made so many mistakes along the way, and I just remember obsessively reading and watching videos every single day, and eventually the jargon starts, you start getting it, you start processing it, and it's almost like learning a new language. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Be sure to tune into my next video, and I will see you in the next one.